What's up, guys? Welcome back to Project Time Garage. On today's episode, we're going to fix the battery cables on Project Freedom. This truck, like I'm sure there are so many others out there, has the battery cables that have deteriorated to the point where the previous owner at some point in its life just gave up and replaced all of them with those little quick fix battery cables that you can get at the auto parts store. You know, the ones that are mainly lead that have the little metal strip that goes over the top and just kind of squishes everything down there. I'm sure those work fine when you first put them on, but corrosion takes its toll. And my battery cables on this truck, or pretty much any of the diesel trucks, they pull so much current on that passenger side battery that you know, you got to have a really rock solid connection, or you have problems. And I'm having problems. So try as I might, I can't make the things stay good. So I have a solution for it. The battery terminals I've chosen to use are these. These are the military style terminals, and they're pretty hefty and pretty hardy, but the cool thing is they've got this 3/8 bolt that goes through the back of it here, and you basically just put eyelets on here and cinch the whole thing down and you've got what you need. These are the terminals I'm going to use. These particular ones are 2/0, and I think that's what goes down to the starter. At least I hope that's what goes down to the starter. This variety here, you can either solder or crimp, or solder and crimp. And in our case, we're going to solder and crimp. So basically how that works is like this. You have this device here, and this is, it's called an anvil. And the idea is you take your lug and you put it inside here, right? And you put your wire in there and you put this thing on a good sturdy surface and you whack the top of it with a hammer a few times and it crimps these things down. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and solder it as well, just to make sure that we have a good connection. Obviously, we're going to start with taking the battery cables off, disconnecting the batteries, and I'm probably just going to get the batteries out of the way. See the battery cables they have on them, right? These things here, they're not that good. There's one. All right, there we go. And just go ahead and take all this stuff off. Why, yes, a ratchet would be easier. There's our battery cable. And there's the other one. Ugly. Now it would be best to cut this old end off here and strip back some fresh, but these battery cables are pretty close to too short now, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to use a wire brush or wire wheel and try to clean them up some. Let's go the other way with it. Not perfect, but better. Do the same thing over here. There, that cleaned it up a bit. All right, so this is the point where it would be better to have cut them off, because getting all these things back together and put inside a put inside a eyelet is going to be really tough. But we're going to try it and see what happens here. And let's see how close we are. That's pretty close right there. And what I can do is I can put it on, and then I can take all these extra little hairs and trim those off. And just, I know that I've got the right size. So next we're going to put some flux on them. All right, I've got my special rosin installation tool, also known as a screwdriver. And we're just going to take some flux, and we're just going to put it all over this thing. Idea is the flux will, number one, kind of clean out some of these impurities, and number two, it'll make the solder flow much better. So I'm going to overdo it, put way too much on there, because way too much is perfect, according to my script garage. There's that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get this stuff everywhere, right? And yeah, heat shrink, should be heat shrinking this, but I have exactly one piece of heat shrink that size left. I thought I had a whole bunch of it, apparently I don't. But the cool thing about this is you can always pull it off and heat shrink it, so it's not a showstopper. Next is this contraption and figuring out exactly how we're going to do this. And I think the way we're going to do this is we're just going to set it here on the edge and put something there. Be right back. So what I have here is an arbor press plate. Hopefully that will, it's a very solid piece of steel. So hopefully that will be what I need. So let's try this. Like so. That, and now we bash it. Notice I put a glove on this hand to protect it in case I hit it, like that's going to do something. So that's what our crimp looks like. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. Pretty cool little tool. I'll also leave a link to this down on Amazon too. Nice and cheap. So we'll trim the whiskers here. Watch your eyes. And while I have the arbor plate out here, I'll go ahead and do this one. Same way. Get it kind of round and cleaned up. Give it a sort of a finesse twist there. See how close we are. Pretty close. Fold these back. Plenty of solder flux. There. Put this guy back on. There we go. Back to our bashing apparatus. I'm going to try to make sure that I have that nice and straight in there before I start banging on it. All right, this thing doesn't like to turn loose. Trim our whiskers, watching our eyes. Now I do have to say this about trimming these off like that. Before you, before I come back and do the heat shrink, I'm going to put some tape also around that, because trimming them off like this does leave little sharp edges sticking up, and if you have thin heat shrink tubing, it could actually poke through there. So just know that. All right, let's look at getting some solder in there now. All right, so I've got the thing held in kind of an upright position so the solder will flow down into it. And the next trick is just heat the thing up. And it'll have to be pretty hot in order to actually flow the solder. The flux will help tremendously with that. It's getting pretty close. I can start to see the flux trying to boil off a little bit. Okay, here it goes. All right, that took quite a bit of solder. So let me move that thing over and grab the other one. We'll do the same thing, keeping in mind this thing's wicked hot. And I like to bend it back just a little bit there so I can actually see the inside of the wire, or so I can start to see the, get a good angle on the wire, I guess. Really should have been using a bigger torch. That would have helped a lot. See right here. Okay. Here it is. Important to heat up the whole thing and not just the top. If it's not hot all the way down to the bottom, the solder won't flow. There it is. Okay, now. All right. It's trying to come out the top, so that means we're full. Let those things cool down a little bit, and then we'll put our battery cables on it. So the way I'm going to do this is, I actually have two connections here. I have one that actually goes over to the other battery, and then this other one here is the feed for my my switch pod. If you didn't see me putting in the switch pod, I'll link that up there. So what I'll do is I'll take this. Now this is a 3/8 bolt that comes with this battery terminal, and these small eyelets that I have here won't quite fit a 3/8 bolt. So if you see right there, I just sort of split it at the top with a pair of angle cutters, and just barely got clearance for my 3/8 bolt. It'll be fine. So I'm going to put that battery, that cable on there like that. And then we'll come back with our main battery cable, and we'll do it like this. And I'm not going to tighten these up just yet. I'm going to wait until I get the battery back in there. before I tighten it up. And so I'll do the same with the other side here. I'll start with this, then on goes the battery cable, and on goes this, and that. There. So I've still got a little bit of wiggle room on it. And guess we can go to the other side now, huh? Guess we'll get this battery out of here as well. These batteries have a hole down in the bottom. It has an 8mm. Looks like that. I forgot to show it on the other side. So I guess I'll do the negative first. Since I'm avoiding this one here, I think this is going to be the worst one. Yes, and a ratchet would be lots easier. There's that one. And then this one. This one right here is the problem guy. This is where all the issue is with this. It's the longest bolt ever. How many of you are screaming at me right now just to go get a ratchet, for crying out loud? No point now, I've only got one more. Wow, what a mess. Check that out. Nice. All right, so I guess we better cut that off a bunch. And this guy right here, I just don't know what the best thing to do is for that. This is just a whole bunch of ugly right here. I wonder if I can cut it with these. Sure can. Boy, what a mess. All right. So there's that. And then that. All right. I'm going to need to shave a little bit more back on that one, I think. Let's see if I can do that also with these. I don't need a lot more, I just need a little bit more. Yep. There we go. It's a ton better. And this one here, I think I'm fine with it like it is. As far as this one goes, it just needs to be cleaned up. All right, let's clean it up. There, much nicer and much shinier. I use these pliers because they have these little ridges, these little teeth that kind of act like a comb, just to kind of straighten some of this stuff back up. And just give it a little twisty there. All right, so there's that one. That's a substantially bigger cable there. Let's go ahead and clean up this one. I'm going to try to just twist it down by hand this time and see if that works any better. Maybe it will. This is a big connector right here. And we have this one. That's on there. And while we're at it, we may as well go ahead and take care of this one too. There's that one. All right. I guess the only thing left to do now is figure out a solution for beating them back into place. All right. So what I have right here is I actually have two of those arbor plates down in the battery tray, just to kind of raise everything up a bit. So we'll hold that and do that. There's the negative out of the way. Let's see if I have room to do this positive. I don't think I'm going to have to do this one up here. Yeah, I'm going to have to bring this one up here to do it because it won't reach down there. Being really careful about the wiper fluid, washer fluid reservoir. Crimped. I'm surprised how solid those connections are just to be crimped. All right, back down here we go. Get rid of that one for a second. Just want to get it really nice and centered. Then there's that one. Everything's done except this, I think. I'll use I'll replace this eyelet too while I'm at it. This is just a body ground. Okay, so I'm going to use a bigger torch this time in an effort to get it up to temperature a little easier, especially on this big old cable here. That's not there. I'm just outside too. All right, let's let that cool off. That one's definitely going to have some heat shrink on it. It's still trying to melt the solder, so that was good and hot. All right, next, we'll go back to the smaller one for this smaller wire. Give it a second to cool off. Move on to the next one. I have solder running out of this one. It's still a little bit wet. All right, next will be this one. So the torch is now. Do I wait for it? All right, there's that. Last but not least, the negative. Now that this side has cooled off some, we'll tape it up. We'll come back later and add our heat shrink, our proper color heat shrink. I just want to keep all these little wires from sticking out here, poking through. This is why I don't have heat shrink. I used it here, I forgot. Remember that video that I linked up there a few minutes ago? Use it on that project. Now that these have cooled down some, also I'll tape them up. Put our battery cables on them, put the batteries back in it. See that it starts or burns to the ground. By the way, I crimped this one on here, forgot to record it. It's not the right size. But I won't tell anybody if you don't. I'll even heat shrink that when I get some heat shrink. Let's see, are these warm? Nope, they're good. Perfect, in fact. If I don't want to grab a hold of one of these things, it's still going to be 1,000,000 degrees. That's it. Battery cables on it and battery back in. Negative. So, negative battery cable goes this way. So I'll try and orient things the way they're going to be when it goes on the truck. So there's that one. And then this one is going to be up like this. So I'm going to put both of these in, except I'm going to turn them around this way so the flat sides actually are together. Bolt through there, bolt through there, bolt through here. There we go. Then, from the other battery, bolt through there. And that's what we're left with. That's going to be so much better. I can scarcely believe it. There's that. Don't forget our hold down. Guess I always seem to forget the hold downs. Okay, there's that. I'm going to go ahead and put the positive on it, but I'm going to leave the negative loose just for a minute until I get the other battery in and in place. Yeah, I've got so much that freed up so much more room on these cables too. Tons more room, in fact. So this big side here is a 17. Probably just gave myself 50 horsepower. If not, I'll put a sticker on it, that'll help. I like how they did these. The nut is actually spaced off of it, so you can get a wrench on there without getting up against the battery post. Nice. All right, there's that. Let me finish tightening this. Make sure it is really tight, because this is where all the amperage draw is. This is what makes all these trucks have so much problem. All right, really solid. Pretty nice. All right, I guess we can hook up our negatives now, can't we? Wow, man, that is solid. Solid. Right. Put this back on here. Start the truck. See if it starts or explodes. All right, let's start it up and see what we've got. That sounded good. It was spinning over fast. Try it again. Ooh, that's better than it's ever been. Call that a win. All right, guys, we're done. Project's a success. The truck starts better than it's ever started before. And chances are, if you have a 7.3 truck, you have either already done a project similar to this, or you're holding the thing together with vice grips. I'm talking to you, Budget Fix Garage. So if you're going to do this project, I'll go ahead and give you a list of the things that I had to do it with. But before I do that, I want to tell you about Instagram. If you're not already following me on Instagram, definitely do it. At ProjectTimeGarage. Every time we have new projects that come into the universe here, we go ahead and put that out on Instagram. So you'll be in the know before anybody else is in the know on what's coming up on the channel. So Instagram, at ProjectTimeGarage. Now, as far as what you're going to need, to begin with, I'm going to leave a Amazon link in the description down there for each one of these items, the ones that I needed and the ones that I used. Just kind of help you out some. So first and foremost, 2 packs of terminals. 1 and 2. Pretty cool stuff. So need 2 of those. Next, need a pack of 2-aught ring terminals. These are the solder or squish kind, solder or crimp kind. I use 2 of these. I use one on the power wire going down to the starter on the passenger side and the other on the ground. I will tell you that the positive side, or the starter wire, is a little bit bigger than 2-aught. It might be 3-aught. I got it done. It wasn't pretty, but it happened. So 2 of those. Next, 2 gauge. This will be for your little accessory wire that runs over to your glow plugs, and that other little pesky thing that goes over for the body ground on the negative side on the passengers. Finally, I had a 5-pack of these guys right here. This is the 1-aught. So you'll have one of these on the driver's side positive and driver's side negative. You'll also have one of those on the lead that comes onto the passenger side from the driver's side battery. You'll have that. So that's what you're going to need. Listen, appreciate you guys watching. As usual, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. And if you have something to say, do it down in the comments here. Love to hear it. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. I'll see you next time.